My boyfriend's phone buzzed during our movie night, so I passed it to him. He bolted to the bathroom, leaving it unlocked. A notification popped up. Is that whale still talking? I opened their group chat and discovered months of messages. You know that feeling when your entire world just shatters in an instant? When one tiny detail rips open the facade and exposes the most gut-wrenching betrayal. Mine did over a single text message that called me a whale. And what I did next? Let's just say it was pure, unadulterated payback. So it was a typical Friday movie night. Stuart and I were chilling on the couch, watching some action flick he'd been hyped about. His phone, which was next to me, suddenly lit up with a preview message. It was from his friend Jackson and it said something odd. Something about a whale. I remember thinking, a whale? At 9 p.m.? What on earth are these guys talking about? Marine biology? I just picked it up, ready to hand it to him, because he was waiting to hear back about their weekend gaming plans. Right as my hand closed around his phone, Stuart started coughing. That deep, gross, phlegmy cough, you know the one. He practically lunged for the phone, then sprinted to the bathroom. He didn't want to be gross in front of me, which honestly at the time I appreciated. Nobody wants to witness that. But here's the thing, the one detail that still makes my stomach churn and my blood run cold. He was so focused on avoiding a sinus explosion that he forgot to lock his phone. The screen was still on, glowing, when another message popped up. Same group chat. And this one read, "Is that whale still talking?" Followed by 3 crying laughing emojis. My breath hitched. I just sat there on my couch in my apartment that I pay for. A cold dread washed over me. Something deep in my gut, a primal instinct, just knew. This wasn't about marine life. This was about me. I took a shaky breath and I opened that group chat. Oh, my God. Was I ever right? This man Stuart had been in a group chat with Jackson and 2 other guys, Josiah and Johnny. And they weren't just talking smack. That would have been bad enough. No, Stuart, my boyfriend, had been recording me. Actual voice recordings and videos. Me talking about my day at work. Me laughing at something silly on TikTok. Me singing happy birthday to my mom Virginia over FaceTime last August. And every single one had a caption. A cruel, venomous caption. Someone please kill me. This pig won't shut up. How much longer do I have to pretend to care? She's singing again. Somebody save me. I kept scrolling, my hands shaking. But it wasn't from sadness. It was pure white-hot fury. Then I saw it. A message from Jackson back in July, asking why Stuart hadn't dumped me yet if I was so annoying. And Stuart's response. I knew I'd need this one. I screenshot it immediately. He wrote, "She's so desperate for love. It's hilarious. Free meals, her BMW, that apartment. I'm living like a king. While she plans our wedding, LOL. This man, this absolute garbage human being had been living in my apartment for 9 months rent-free. Driving my car whenever he wanted. Eating food I bought. And apparently he'd been hating every single second with me, while his friends cheered him on. There was another text from September. Stuart told them I'd bought him a PS5 for his birthday, thinking he'd propose soon. Josiah's reply. Bro, you're a genius. This is the best scam ever. Stuart's smug response. I know, right? She even pays for my gym membership, because I told her we should get healthy together before the wedding. What wedding? We talked about maybe getting married someday. It was a casual conversation just once. I mentioned I thought we had a good thing going, that I could see a future. That was it. And this man, he turned that into his entire justification for using me. I pulled out my own phone, my fingers flying across the screen. Screenshot after screenshot. Every cruel message. Every recording. Every instance of them laughing about how stupid I was. My camera roll became a relentless stream of evidence. I made sure to get the dates, the full conversations, the entire sickening context. Just then the bathroom door opened. Stuart emerged, all stuffed up, talking about how Jackson wanted to know if we were still down for a barbecue at his place next weekend. And I smiled. I smiled at him. Yeah, totally. That sounds fun, I said, my voice unnervingly steady. Want me to make my potato salad? Everyone always requests it. He kissed my forehead, sat back down, put his arm around me, and went back to watching the movie like nothing had happened. Meanwhile, my phone held about 200 screenshots of him calling me a whale, a pig, desperate, and stupid. I couldn't focus on the movie. My brain was a whirlwind, a million miles an hour, trying to figure out what to do. Part of me, a screaming, furious part, wanted to unleash hell right then and there. But something told me to wait. To be smart. If he'd been playing a long game with me, I could play one too. The next morning, Saturday, Stuart asked if he could borrow my car to meet Jackson at the gym. "Sure, babe," I chirped, handing him my keys with a saccharine smile. The second he left, I went through every single thing he'd left in my apartment. His laptop was locked, of course, but his iPad wasn't. He mostly used it for sports. I opened his Messages app, and it synced with his phone. Oh, my God. Even more conversations. Turns out there was a separate chat with just Jackson. And they talked about me even worse. Jackson kept asking when Stuart was going to trade up. And Stuart said he was waiting until after the holidays, because I'd probably buy him a bunch of expensive stuff for Christmas. He was planning to use me through Christmas and then dump me. I also found voice memos on his iPad. More recordings of me without my knowledge. Me on the phone with my mom, gushing about how happy I was that Stuart and I were doing so well. Me telling my friend Rachel that I thought Stuart might be the one. Me literally just existing in my own home. And this man was recording it to send to his friends for entertainment. My entire relationship was a joke to him. 9 months of my life. I'd introduced him to my family. My mom loved him. My dad thought he was great. We'd even gone on vacation in July. And I paid for most of it because Stuart said his job at his uncle's auto parts store wasn't paying great. And he was trying to save up. Now I realized he probably just didn't want to spend his own money when mine was so readily available. He worked at this small shop his Uncle Richard owned doing inventory. He always made it sound like money was tight. But looking back at these messages, he had plenty of money. He just preferred spending mine. I sent all the new screenshots and recordings to myself through his iPad. Then I cleared the sent messages. Downloaded everything to my laptop. Backed it up on a flash drive. Then I put his iPad back exactly where I found it. Stuart came home 3 hours later, all sweaty and cheerful, talking about his workout. He asked what I wanted to do for dinner. I suggested we order from his favorite place. My treat. He didn't even hesitate. We spent Saturday night eating pasta, watching TV. I laughed at his jokes, cuddled with him, and the entire time my mind was screaming, whale, pig, desperate, stupid. Sunday, he asked if I wanted to go to the mall because he needed new shoes. I said sure. We went. I watched him try on 6 different pairs of Nikes. He made comments about which ones looked best, asked my opinion, and I gave it. At the register, he looked at me expectantly. Oh right. He wanted me to pay. Like always. I pulled out my card and bought him the shoes, $85. The cashier asked if I wanted to add them to my rewards account. Yes, I said with the biggest, fakest smile. Stuart carried the bag, held my hand through the mall, and told me I was the best girlfriend ever. The best girlfriend ever. While he had months of messages calling me a whale. Monday he went to work. Called in sick. I wasn't sick, not physically. But I needed time. Time to think. Time to plan. Because here's what I knew. If I just confronted him, he'd lie. He'd gaslight me. He'd say I was misunderstanding or being crazy, or that it was just guy talk. But I had evidence. Screenshots. Recordings. Dates. Context. Everything. I also knew his name wasn't on my lease. He'd moved in gradually, first staying over a lot, then bringing more stuff until he just lived here. But legally, this was my apartment. The car was in my name. The furniture was mine. Everything here was mine, except his clothes and that stupid PS5 I'd bought him. Tuesday, Stuart asked if we could have his mom, Brenda, over for dinner on Thursday. He said she'd been asking to see our place and meet me properly. We'd only met twice before at family events. Sure, I said. I'd love to cook for her. He seemed so happy. Kissed me. Told me he was lucky to have me. That his mom would love me just like he did. I smiled and started planning the menu. Wednesday night, Stuart came home with flowers. Daisies. My favorite. He said he just saw them at the grocery store and thought of me. I wanted to throw them at his face. Instead, I put them in a vase and thanked him. He told me he loved me. Right to my face. I love you, babe. And I said it back. Because I needed him to think everything was normal. That I had no idea what he'd been doing behind my back for months. Thursday morning I woke up. Stuart was already in the shower. His phone was on the nightstand charging. I grabbed it. The group chat had new messages from overnight. Jackson sent a meme about annoying girlfriends. Josiah replied, "Dude, is Stuart still milking that whale?" And Johnny said, "My boy's a legend getting all that free stuff." Stuart had responded at 6 a.m., while I was still asleep next to him. "Almost done with this ride, lol. After holidays I'm out. Already got my eye on this girl from the gym." After holidays. He was already planning his exit. And his next target. I took more screenshots. Put his phone back. That evening Brenda arrived at 6 p.m. I'd made a whole nice dinner. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, vegetables, homemade rolls. I set the table with my nice dishes. Lit candles. Brenda walked in. Immediately gushing about everything. The apartment, the food, how nice I looked. Stuart was all proud, showing her around like he'd decorated or paid for anything. Dinner was so surreal. I'm sitting there making small talk with his mother, knowing her son thinks I'm a whale he's scamming. Brenda kept saying how happy she was that Stuart found someone so wonderful and put together. She asked about wedding plans and Stuart laughed it off, saying we were taking things slow. I just smiled and said, "Whenever it's right, it's right." After dinner, Brenda asked to see photos of us together. I pulled out my phone, started showing her pictures from our vacation from various dates. She was gushing about how cute we were, how happy Stuart looked. And something snapped. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep smiling. But I also knew this wasn't the right time. Not with his mom there. Not yet. So, I excused myself to the kitchen to get dessert. I stood there for a second just breathing. When I came back out I had pie and ice cream. And another smile. Brenda left around 9 p.m. saying she had such a wonderful time. That I was such a keeper. And Stuart better not mess this up. Stuart walked her to her car. When he came back inside he was grinning. He said dinner went perfectly. His mom loved me. Everything was working out great. I asked him what he meant by working out. He said, our relationship. Our future together. Our future. This man really thought he had a future with me after what he'd been saying? Friday morning, Stuart left for the auto parts store early. His uncle Richard needed help with a big inventory shipment. He kissed me goodbye. Told me to have a great day. I went to work but left at lunch. Drove to a UPS store. Printed out every single screenshot I'd taken. Hundreds of pages. Then I went to an office supply store and bought folders and labels. I spent Friday afternoon organizing everything. Chronologically. By conversation. By person. Detailed. Thorough. Then I put it all in my closet, in the very back where Stuart never looked. Friday night, he wanted to go out to dinner with Jackson and some other friends. Asked if I wanted to come. I said no, I was tired. But he should go have fun. He seemed almost relieved I wasn't coming. Probably because then he could talk about me without me there. He left around 7. I sat in my apartment alone. Thinking about everything. 9 months with this person. How I thought we were building something real. My family meeting him, liking him. The vacation. The holidays coming up. The life I thought we were working toward. And how none of it was real. How all of it was him using me while laughing at me with his friends. My phone buzzed. It was my mom. Asking how things were going with Stuart, if we were still coming for Sunday dinner this weekend. I told her yes. We'd be there. Because I needed everything to seem normal just a little bit longer. Stuart came home around midnight a little drunk, talking about how fun the night was. He passed out in bed, snoring immediately. I lay there next to him, staring at the ceiling. And I realized something. I wasn't sad. I was angry. And I was done being nice. Monday was going to be very interesting. Update. Sunday dinner at my parents' house was absolutely brutal. We drove over in my BMW, the one Stuart used whenever he wanted. The whole time he was being all cute and affectionate, holding my hand, asking if my dad would want to watch the game with him after dinner. And I'm just sitting there, my blood simmering, thinking about that message where he called me a whale, how he was planning to dump me after Christmas once he got all his presents. My mom, Virginia, answered the door, immediately hugging Stuart like he was her own son. She'd made pot roast, his favorite. My dad was in the living room. He got up to shake Stuart's hand, asking about work, if his Uncle Richard was thinking about expanding. Stuart launched into this whole story about how Richard might open a second location, and how he was hoping to maybe manage it someday. And my parents were eating it up, talking about how ambitious he was, how great it was he had family who supported him, how rare it was to find young men with such a good work ethic these days. I wanted to scream. This man works part-time at a tiny auto parts shop and spends the rest of his time playing video games on the PS5 I bought him, while living rent-free in my apartment. But sure, Dad, tell me more about his amazing work ethic. Dinner was torture. My mom kept asking about wedding plans, and Stuart did this bashful thing, saying we were taking our time, making sure we were really ready. My mom just beamed at him like he was being so mature and thoughtful. She told me later, when we were alone in the kitchen, that I should hold on to this one, that men like Stuart don't come around often. I almost dropped the dish I was holding. My younger brother Jasper was there too. He and Stuart were making jokes about sports, getting along great. At one point Jasper said Stuart was way cooler than my ex-boyfriend from college and I should definitely marry this one. Stuart laughed, put his arm around me, kissed my temple. The whole time I had my phone in my pocket with about 300 screenshots of him calling me a pig. After dinner, my dad and Stuart went to watch the game. My mom pulled me aside to help with dishes. She started talking about how happy she was I found someone so stable and kind, how she could tell he really loved me by the way he looked at me. She said she'd never seen me this happy before. I just stood there washing dishes, thinking about how none of this was real. How my entire family had been fooled just like I had been. How Stuart had spent 9 months being the perfect boyfriend to my face, while mocking everything about me to his friends behind my back. Mom asked if I was okay. Fine, I said. Just tired from work. She said I'd been seeming stressed lately, and maybe Stuart and I should take a weekend trip, just to relax and reconnect. She even offered to help pay for it. I told her that was sweet, but we were fine. She hugged me and said she was just so relieved I found my person, who was planning to dump me after he got his Christmas presents. We left around 8. Stuart was in such a good mood, talking about how much he loved my family, how lucky he was to have such welcoming future in-laws. Future in-laws. He kept using that phrase, and every time he said it I gripped the steering wheel harder. When we got home, Stuart wanted to fool around. I made up an excuse about cramps, and he was actually really sweet about it. Got me ibuprofen, a heating pad, cuddled with me on the couch, and that somehow made it worse. Because this version of Stuart, the attentive, caring boyfriend version, felt like the biggest lie of all. Monday morning I woke up. Stuart was already gone. He'd left a note on the kitchen counter. Uncle needs me early for inventory. See you tonight. With a little heart drawn at the bottom. A heart. I stared at that note for 5 minutes, thinking about how he probably drew that heart while mentally composing his next message to his friends about what a desperate whale I was. At work I could barely concentrate. My coworker Rachel kept giving me concerned looks, but I told her I was fine. During lunch, she cornered me in the parking lot. What is going on? She demanded. You've been weird for over a week. And I cracked. I told her everything. About the messages. The recordings. How Stuart had been using me. Mocking me for months. Rachel's face went through like 15 different expressions. Shock, anger, disgust, and then this look. Pure vengeance. She asked what I was going to do. I told her I didn't know yet, I was still trying to figure it out. She offered to help. Said I could stay at her place if I wanted to kick him out. Whatever I needed. I appreciated that so much, but I told her I wasn't ready yet. I needed to think. She looked at me like I was crazy but backed off, making me promise to keep her updated. Monday night, Stuart came home with takeout from my favorite place. He said he thought I deserved a treat after being stressed lately. I sat there eating pad thai he'd paid for with my credit card. Yeah, I checked the bank app while he was in the bathroom. While he talked about his day like nothing was wrong. He told me his Uncle Richard was really impressed with his work lately, might give him more responsibilities, that he was thinking about asking for a raise. Things are really looking up for us, he said. For us. Like we were a team. Like he wasn't actively planning to abandon me in 2 months. Tuesday I had to go to the DMV. My license was expiring. I was sitting in those uncomfortable plastic chairs, waiting for my number when I saw him. Jackson. Stuart's best friend. The one who'd been in that group chat calling me a whale. He was there renewing his registration or something. He saw me and came over with this big friendly smile. Asked how I was doing. Said Stuart had mentioned we went to my parents for dinner. And it sounded nice. He was being so normal, so friendly. I wanted to punch him in the face. Instead I smiled back, made small talk about how the DMV always took forever. Wasn't it annoying? Jackson laughed and agreed. And then he said something that made my blood boil. Stuart's lucky to have someone so sweet and understanding. His last girlfriend was really high maintenance, and it's nice seeing him with someone more chill. More chill. Meaning more of a pushover. Someone who let him get away with whatever he wanted. Wednesday my mom texted, asking if I wanted to go Christmas shopping with her on Saturday. She said we could make a day of it, hit the mall, get lunch. Maybe find some decorations for your apartment since Stuart will probably be spending Christmas with you this year. She asked if I'd talked to him about what he wanted yet. I stared at that text for so long, because I knew Stuart had a whole wish list on his phone. A strategic list of expensive items he was planning to manipulate me into buying before dumping me. Gaming chair. AirPods. Smartwatch. Designer sneakers. I texted back. Saturday shopping sounds great. I'll figure out Stuart's gift situation. Wednesday night, Stuart asked if I could help him with something. He pulled up this website for gaming chairs on my laptop, started showing me different models, talking about how his current setup was hurting his back. How much better he could focus with proper support. He mentioned one specific chair that was on sale. A really good deal. Normally $400, marked down to $300. This was it. The manipulation I'd seen in his notes. The strategic mention of the sale to make it seem like a bargain. The health angle to make it seem necessary. The casual way he brought it up like it just occurred to him. I played along. Asked questions about features. Nodded when he explained why this chair was better. Watched him light up, thinking his plan was working perfectly. Then he casually mentioned his birthday wasn't until January, but Christmas gifts were cool too. He'd be so grateful if I could help him get something like this. He'd make it up to me somehow. Make it up to me with what, exactly? More months of calling me a whale? More recordings sent to his friends for entertainment? I told him I'd think about it. He kissed me, said I was the best, and went back to his game looking so pleased with himself. Thursday I went to Target after work. Needed groceries and honestly just needed to get out of my apartment. I was walking through the store when I heard someone call my name. I turned around. It was Brenda, Stuart's mom. She was there shopping for Halloween candy, even though Halloween had already passed. Said it was on clearance and she liked to stock up. She gave me a big hug. Started talking about how wonderful dinner was last week. How much she enjoyed getting to know me better. How she could tell I was such a good influence on Stuart. A good influence. Because, apparently before me he was what? Even worse? Brenda linked her arm through mine and walked with me through the store, chatting about random stuff. Then she mentioned that Stuart had been talking about maybe looking at engagement rings soon. That he'd asked her opinion on styles. She said this with a knowing smile, like we were sharing a secret. My stomach dropped. Because Stuart had not mentioned anything about engagement rings to me. Which meant either he was lying to his mother to keep up appearances, or this was part of his long game. Keep everyone convinced we were heading toward marriage. So nobody questioned why he was still living with me rent-free. Brenda asked if I had any preferences for ring styles, if Stuart had shown me anything yet. I made something up about liking simple designs, classic styles, not wanting anything too flashy. She nodded along, said Stuart had good taste, whatever he picked would be beautiful. We checked out at the same time. Brenda hugged me goodbye in the parking lot, told me to take care of her boy, who was actively scamming me and planning to dump me. I sat in my car for 20 minutes after she left, just processing. Stuart's mom liked me. My family loved him. Everyone thought we were this perfect couple heading toward marriage. And it was all based on lies. Thursday night, Stuart's phone kept buzzing during dinner. He kept checking it, smirking at something. Finally, I asked who was texting him. Just the group chat, he said. The guys being idiots as usual. Then he put his phone face down and asked about my day. I told him about running into his mom at Target. His face lit up. He asked what she said, if she mentioned anything about next month, when his aunt was having Thanksgiving. I said no, just small talk. She seemed happy to see me. Stuart smiled. Said his whole family loved me. That his mom had told him multiple times how glad she was we were together. That I was exactly the kind of girl he should settle down with. While he planned to dump me. After dinner, I told Stuart I needed to do some work stuff on my laptop. Instead, I opened his iPad. He'd left it on the coffee table. I've been checking it obsessively now, looking for new messages. New evidence. New ways he was mocking me. There was a new group chat message from Tuesday night. Jackson had sent a photo from the DMV. A photo of me sitting in those plastic chairs. He'd secretly photographed me and sent it with the caption, "Look who I ran into, LOL." Stuart had responded. "Did she seem suspicious at all?" Jackson said. "Nah, she's clueless. We talked and everything was normal." Josiah chimed in. "Bro, how does she not know yet?" And Stuart replied, "Because she's desperate and sees what she wants to see. Plus I'm careful. She's not smart enough to catch on. Not smart enough. Not smart enough." I wanted to throw the iPad across the room. Instead, I took screenshots, methodically saving every new piece of evidence. The photo Jackson took of me. Stuart asking if I seemed suspicious. All of them laughing about how clueless I was. There was more. A new voice memo from Wednesday. Stuart, whispering to Jackson on the phone while I was in the shower. I could hear him saying he'd successfully planted the seed about the gaming chair. That I'd definitely buy it. That his Christmas haul was going to be amazing. Jackson laughed and said Stuart was a mastermind. A mastermind. For manipulating his girlfriend. I sent everything to myself. Cleared the history. Closed the iPad. Went back to the bedroom where Stuart was already in bed, scrolling his phone. He looked up when I came in, patted the bed next to him, told me to come cuddle. Friday morning, Stuart asked if I'd thought more about the gaming chair. Said he really needed it for his back. That he'd been having pain from sitting weird while gaming. He gave me these puppy dog eyes. I could see exactly what he was doing. The manipulation. The fake vulnerability. The expectation that I'd cave. I told him I needed to think about it some more, that it was a lot of money. He looked disappointed but said he understood, that he didn't want to pressure me. Then he mentioned that if I couldn't do the chair, maybe the AirPods would be more affordable. That he'd been wanting to upgrade his old headphones. The AirPods that were also on his strategic manipulation list. At work, Rachel asked if I decided what to do yet. I told her no, I was still processing everything. She looked frustrated. "You need to stop processing and start acting," she said. "Every day you wait is another day he's using you." And she was right. I knew she was right. But something in me needed more. Needed to see exactly how far he'd go. Needed to catch him in as many lies as possible before I blew everything up. Friday night, Stuart wanted to go out with Jackson and the guys. "Sure, have fun," I said. He asked if I was sure I didn't want to come along. I said I was tired. I probably just watch TV and go to bed early. He left around 7. I immediately grabbed his iPad. I needed to see what he'd say about me when he was out with his friends. If he'd record me again. If there'd be more mockery. But what I found was worse. There was a new conversation. In a different chat. Just Stuart and someone named Bethany. And the messages were flirty. Really flirty. Bethany. She was the gym girl he'd mentioned. The one he was planning to date after dumping me. They'd been talking for weeks. Since mid-October. She'd sent him photos of herself working out. He'd complimented her. They'd made plans to hang out once his situation was handled. She'd asked when that would be. He'd said soon. Just waiting for the right time. Bethany asked if his girlfriend suspected anything. Stuart said no, that I was completely clueless. That he had everything under control. She sent a photo of herself in workout clothes with the caption, "Can't wait for you to be free so we can finally go out properly." And Stuart responded with fire emojis and said, "Soon, babe. Promise. Just got to ride this out through the holidays." He was calling another girl babe, while living in my apartment, while I paid for everything, while planning to scam Christmas presents out of me before dumping me for her. I took screenshots of everything with Bethany, every flirty message, every photo she'd sent, every time he called me clueless or talked about his situation that needed to be handled. There were dozens of messages. They'd been talking constantly, making plans for after he left me, talking about where they'd go on their first real date. Him promising her it would be soon. I sat on my couch, surrounded by evidence of my boyfriend's betrayal. And I realized something. This wasn't just about him using me for money anymore. This was him actively cheating on me. Emotionally, if not physically yet. While making me look like an idiot to everyone. Monday. I was going to end this. But I was going to do it my way. And Stuart was going to realize that the clueless whale he'd been scamming for 9 months was a lot smarter than he thought. Rachel was right. It was time to stop processing and start acting. Last update. Okay, so I'm writing this and I'm still on such an adrenaline high that I can barely type straight. But I need to tell you everything. Because what I did was absolutely insane. But also the most empowering thing I've ever done in my life. And I have zero regrets. After my last update, so many of you said I needed to confront Stuart immediately. Just kick him out. Be done with it. And I was planning to. I really was. But then Saturday night after shopping with my mom, I had an idea. A brilliant, petty, absolutely perfect idea. Christmas was in 3 weeks. Stuart was planning to use me through the holidays and then dump me. He had his manipulation list ready. His exit strategy planned. His new girl, Bethany, waiting in the wings. So I decided to let him think he was winning. Let him think his plan was working perfectly. And then destroy him in the most spectacular way possible. Sunday I acted completely normal. Cuddled with Stuart on the couch. Laughed at his jokes. Pretended everything was fine. He had no idea I'd shown my mom the screenshots. No idea I'd cried in the mall food court. He just thought we were having a nice, relaxing weekend. Monday I called my brother Jasper from work. I told him everything. Everything. Showed him the screenshots. The recordings. The messages with Bethany. Stuart's Christmas manipulation list. Jasper was furious. He started saying he was going to come over and beat Stuart's ass, and I had to calm him down. Then I told him my plan. And Jasper started laughing. He said it was brilliant. And he was absolutely in. I spent Monday and Tuesday nights after Stuart fell asleep, creating a slideshow. Every screenshot, organized chronologically. The group chat messages calling me a whale and a pig. The voice memo transcripts where Stuart said being intimate with me made him want to vomit. The conversations with Bethany. His strategic Christmas manipulation list with notes on how to convince me to buy each item. The photo Jackson took of me at the DMV. Everything. I set it all to music. Some sad piano song that would make it extra dramatic. I added title slides between sections. What Stuart says to my face, followed by screenshots of him telling me he loves me. Then, what Stuart says behind my back, followed by him calling me a whale. Stuart's Christmas strategy, with his entire manipulation list. Stuart's future plans, with all the Bethany messages. It was perfect, devastating, and perfect. I sent it to Jasper Tuesday night. He texted back just, "Holy *T. This is going to be epic." Wednesday, Stuart asked again about the gaming chair. Said it was such a good deal. Christmas was coming up. He'd been thinking about it constantly. I told him, "I've ordered it already. It should arrive next week." His face lit up. He hugged me. Said I was the best girlfriend ever. And he was so lucky. I smiled. And thought about what was coming. Thursday my mom called. Said she'd been thinking about Christmas dinner, that she wanted to host, since we hadn't had a big family gathering in a while. She asked if Stuart and I would come, and if maybe Stuart's family would want to join too, since we were getting so serious. I told her that was a great idea, that I'd ask Stuart about inviting his mom, Brenda, and maybe his uncle Richard. Mom sounded surprised but happy. She had no idea what I was planning. Thursday night, I mentioned to Stuart that my mom wanted to do a big Christmas dinner and wanted to invite his family. Stuart got all excited, said that was amazing, that it would be great for our families to really get to know each other. He called his mom right then. Brenda was thrilled, said she'd love to come, and she'd bring dessert. Everything was falling into place. Friday the gaming chair arrived. I had it delivered to Rachel's apartment so Stuart wouldn't see it early. I wrapped it at her place Friday night, while Stuart thought I was working late. Rachel kept saying I was a genius. She couldn't wait to hear how this went down. The next 2 weeks were torture. Playing the happy girlfriend. Watching Stuart get more and more confident that his plan was working. He'd added more items to his Christmas list. Started mentioning how nice a new watch would be. How his winter coat was getting old. How he really needed new headphones. I bought nothing else, just the gaming chair that I was planning to return the second this was over. Stuart and I went Christmas shopping together one Saturday, and he kept steering us toward electronic stores, pointing out items casually. The AirPods he wanted, the smartwatch. I nodded along, taking mental notes of every manipulation attempt. He bought me a present too. Wrapped it himself. Put it under my little Christmas tree. I stared at that present every day, thinking about how he'd probably spent my money. My mom called a few days before Christmas, asking what I wanted her to make for dinner. I suggested all of Stuart's favorites. Prime rib, mashed potatoes, the fancy bread rolls he liked. Mom was confused why I was being so accommodating but didn't question it. Christmas Eve. Stuart was in the best mood. Kept talking about tomorrow. About seeing both our families together. About what a big step this was for us. He'd been texting Bethany that morning. Yes, I was still checking his iPad, telling her, just one more day of playing along. And then after New Year he'd be free. One more day. He thought he had one more day. Christmas morning Stuart gave me my present first. It was a cheap necklace from Target. I checked my bank app later. He'd spent $32 of my money on my Christmas present. We got to my parents' house around 2 p.m. Jasper's car was already there. So was Brenda's and Uncle Richard's truck. Everyone was there. Both families mixing and chatting in the living room when we arrived. My mom hugged us both. My dad shook Stuart's hand. Brenda gave Stuart a big hug and me a smaller one. Richard was talking to my dad about sports. Jasper was in the corner, and when he caught my eye, he gave me the tiniest nod. Everything was ready. Dinner was at 4 p.m. We all sat around my parents' big dining table. Mom and Dad at the ends. Me and Stuart on one side, Jasper next to me. Brenda and Richard across from us. The table was beautiful. Mom had gone all out with decorations, candles, fancy dishes. Stuart was in heaven. Both families together, everyone getting along. Him sitting there, thinking he'd successfully manipulated everyone. He kept reaching over to hold my hand, kept telling everyone how lucky he was to have me, how this was the best Christmas ever. After dinner, my mom started clearing plates and I helped. In the kitchen, she whispered that everything seemed to be going well, that she was glad I was feeling better about things. I just smiled and said, "The night isn't over yet." We brought out dessert. Brenda's homemade apple pie. My mom's cookies. Everyone was relaxed, full, happy. Stuart had his arm around my shoulders and was talking to Richard about possibly getting a truck someday. That's when I gave Jasper the signal. Just a little nod. Jasper pulled out his laptop. "Hey everyone," he said loud enough for the whole table. "You guys should see this slideshow I put together of my name and Stuart's relationship. I made it as a Christmas surprise. Want to show it on the big TV in the living room." Stuart looked thrilled. "That's so cool," he exclaimed. "I'd love to see it." Everyone else seemed interested too. We all moved to the living room. Jasper connected his laptop to my parents' TV. The slideshow started innocently. A few photos of me and Stuart from earlier in our relationship. Everyone went, "Ah, so cute." Stuart squeezed my hand, beaming. Then the title slide appeared. The real story. And the first screenshot popped up. The group chat. Jackson asking, "Is that whale still talking?" With Stuart's messages below. Calling me a pig. A whale. Desperate. Annoying. Stuart's hand dropped from mine. "What the hell is this?" he choked out. I didn't say anything. Just watched the screen. More screenshots. Stuart telling his friends he was living like a king off my apartment, my car, my money. Stuart saying I was so desperate for love, it was hilarious. Stuart's voice memo transcripts, where he said being intimate with me made him want to vomit. Brenda made this gasping sound. My mom's hand flew to her mouth. My dad's face was getting red. Stuart stood up. This isn't what it looks like, he stammered. Those messages were taken out of context. Jasper, turn that off right now. Jasper didn't turn it off. The slideshow continued. Stuart's Christmas manipulation list. Every item he wanted, with strategic notes on how to manipulate me into buying it. Mention gaming chair is on sale. Tell her AirPods would help with work calls. Say sneakers are good for our gym routine together. The gaming chair he just unwrapped was sitting in the corner of the room. Everyone's eyes went to it. Then, the Bethany messages. Stuart calling another girl babe. Making plans to date her after dumping me. Telling her he just had to ride out the holidays first. Bethany's photos. Stuart saying, soon babe. I promise. Brenda stood up. Stuart, what the hell is this? She demanded, her voice shaking. Is this real? Tell me this isn't real. Stuart was panicking, saying it was all fake. That I'd edited these. That I was crazy and trying to ruin him. This is insane. I finally spoke. My voice was calm. Controlled. Dead even. I asked him which part was fake. The part where you called me a whale for 9 months? The part where you recorded me without my consent and sent the recordings to your friends? The part where you made a strategic list of ways to manipulate me? Or the part where you've been cheating on me with Bethany from the gym? Stuart turned to me, pure rage contorting his face. You violated my privacy, he screamed. You went through my phone without permission. You invaded my personal conversations. My dad stood up. My dad, who never loses his temper. And he said, his voice low and dangerous, Stuart, you need to be very careful about your next words. Because from where I'm standing, you have been using my daughter. And you have about 10 seconds to get out of this house. Stuart tried to appeal to Brenda. Mom, you have to believe me. She's twisting everything. I love her. I was just venting to friends sometimes. Every guy does it. Brenda looked at her son, tears streaming down her face. I've seen enough, she said, her voice heartbroken. Those messages are in your words. You've been using her. Lying to everyone, including me. I raised you better than this, Stuart. I'm ashamed. Stuart started yelling, saying everyone was overreacting. That private messages between friends meant nothing. That he'd been a good boyfriend. He'd never actually cheated. The Bethany stuff was just flirting. Jasper stood up. Got in Stuart's face. Said he had 3 seconds to get out before Jasper made him leave. Stuart tried to argue and Jasper literally started counting. 1, 2. Stuart grabbed his coat and stormed toward the door. Then he turned back. I need my gaming chair, he shouted. It's my Christmas present. It was my money that bought it, I said, my voice cutting through the silence. My credit card on the receipt. Legally my property. You're not taking a damn thing. Stuart looked at everyone. His mom crying. My dad looking ready to physically throw him out. My mom hugging me. Richard shaking his head in disgust. Jasper still standing ready to fight. And he left. Just walked out. Slammed the door. The room was silent for a minute. Then Brenda came over to me, sobbing and apologizing. I had no idea, she cried. If I'd known, I would have stopped it. My son has turned into someone I don't recognize. Richard said he was going to have a serious talk with Stuart, that this was unacceptable on every level, that he was embarrassed to be related to someone who'd act this way. Jasper returned the gaming chair to the store the next day, and gave me the refund money. I bought myself a nice dinner with it. But before that, and this is my favorite part, the day after Christmas, Jasper came over to my apartment with his car. I'd given him my spare key weeks ago, as part of the plan. We spent 3 hours going through every single item Stuart had left behind. Every piece of clothing. Every toiletry. Every random thing he'd accumulated in 9 months. Jasper loaded it all into giant black trash bags. And I mean everything. His Xbox. His clothes. His shoes. That stupid collection of baseball caps he thought made him look cool. His deodorant and shampoo. His charging cables. Every single thing. We filled like 8 massive bags. And Jasper hauled them all down to the curb outside my apartment building. Just dumped them there on the street. Like the garbage they were. I took a photo of all those bags sitting on the curb and sent it to Stuart with one message. Your stuff is outside. You have until trash pickup tomorrow morning to get it. After that, it's the city's problem. He called me 17 times in the next hour. I didn't answer a single one. He left voicemails screaming about his belongings, saying I couldn't just throw his stuff out, threatening to call the police. I sent him one more message. You're not on my lease. You never paid rent. Your stuff is outside my building. Come get it or don't. I don't care anymore. Jackson's car pulled up around 10 that night. I watched from my window as Stuart and Jackson scrambled to load all those trash bags into Jackson's tiny sedan. It took them 3 trips because they couldn't fit everything. Stuart kept looking up at my window, but I turned off all the lights so he couldn't tell if I was watching. Christmas night, my phone started blowing up. Stuart calling and calling and calling. Voicemails of him screaming. I blocked every single number and turned off my phone. Jackson tried to message me defending Stuart. I sent him the screenshot of him photographing me at the DMV and mocking me. Then blocked him too. The Nike shoes I'd bought him? Sold them on Facebook Marketplace. The PS5? Went to Jasper officially as a late Christmas present. He's obsessed with it. I returned every other gift I'd bought Stuart. Got full refunds on everything. Used the money to take myself on a spa weekend with Rachel. We got massages and facials and drank champagne and celebrated me being free. New Year's Eve I spent at my parents' house. Just family. At midnight, Jasper raised his glass and said, "Here's to my big sister who's a badass and doesn't take garbage from anyone." Everyone cheered. My mom cried happy tears. My dad hugged me and said he was proud of me. It's been 2 weeks now since Christmas. Stuart tried calling once more last week from a number I didn't recognize. Left a voicemail saying he understood I was mad. But we needed closure. Could we please meet for coffee and talk like adults? I deleted it without listening to the whole thing. There's no closure needed. He showed me exactly who he was. And I showed him exactly who I am. So tell me, what would you have done in my place? Have you ever had a moment where you realized someone was playing you and you just snapped? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts.